Hey YouTube, welcome back to Toge Masters. Today we're going to show you how to disassemble a open diff for a S13. This is in preparation to install the KAAZ 1.5 weight and Weir Z33 axle stub conversion. I've removed the diff cover. This is just 14mm bolts and removed the fluid ahead of time. First we're going to remove these axle stubs. Just give it a good hard couple blows with the rubber mallet and they should both come right off. Alright, that's one side, and then we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. Next, we're going to use an impact gun and a 17mm socket to remove the carrier bearing holders. There are 2 on each side with a total of 4. Alright, with the carrier bearing holders out, we're going to try to pry out the diff. Looks like it's stuck in there. We're just going to use a socket extension and we're going to jam it into the back and pry it out. Once you pry this out, make sure you keep track of the orientation of the washers on both sides. It is very important to keep track of these as you're going to need to put them back in the same order when you reinstall them. Sometimes they get lodged into the sides, so just make sure you pull them out before moving to the next step. Alright, from here we're just going to use the impact gun to remove all the bolts that are holding the ring in place. I believe this is also a 17mm. Alright, with everything disassembled, we're just going to give everything a quick spray and wipe down. Just make sure we get these parts nice and clean before we install the KAAZ LSD. Once we have all the parts cleaned up, we still have to remove the seal stubs on the side. I found the easiest way to do this by using an extension and a 35 or 36mm socket and hammering it out. This prevents you from scratching the seal face with the typical pry tools. With the seals removed, we're just going to give everything inside a quick wipe down. It looks like this diff has never been opened before. This will conclude our S13 diff disassembly video. Please stay tuned for the KAAZ 1.5 Way LSD install and axle stub conversion. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright, and we're going to begin installing the KAAZ 1.5 Way LSD. So this is a unit that comes in the box. And there's also going to be some seals and other hardware that I'll show you a little bit later. Here you can see we grabbed the ring that we took off of the welded diff earlier, and we're going to install this onto the LSD. Don't forget to use Loctite on the 17mm bolts. You want to make sure you use a generous amount of Loctite. This prevents the bolts from backing out. And from here we're going to use the impact gun and a 17mm socket to get these bolts snug. After snugging up the bolts, we're going to use a torque wrench and torque it to spec. We did a majority of this off screen. Right now we're going to install the LSD into the pumpkin. We're going to use the bearing races that came with the KAAZ kit and drop it in the pumpkin. Alright, once the LSD is in, we're going to install the shims on both sides. You can see there's two on the left hand side and one on the right hand side, and here I am just trying to push it in. A helpful tip here is to have the pumpkin leaned on one side. It makes putting the shim in a lot easier. Once the shims are in, we're going to put the caps back on. Don't forget to use Loctite. Here you can see I'm putting some bearing grease on here to see the teeth contact, and it looks to be pretty on point, so I don't think I'm going to do any additional adjustments here. So at this point we're pretty much done with all the internal parts. Here you can see I'm using the side seals that came with the KAAZ LSD. A tip to installing these seals flat is to make sure to use even pressure. We're using a 35mm socket to tap these in. Make sure you don't tap them too far in, as these seals can get damaged if you do so. With the seals installed, we're going to install the Weir Z33 axle stub conversion. These let us run the 350Z axles in our 240SX. These go on relatively straightforward. All you do is make sure these splines line up with the LSD and tap them in place. Here's a quick comparison of the 350Z axles versus the 240SX. The 350Z ones are on the top and the 240SX are on the rear. You can tell that they're a lot beefier. With the axle stubs installed, we're going to pour in the KAAZ diff oil. You only need about 1.5 liters. We're going to use the provided rear diff cover seal to install the rear diff cover. Now we're just going to tighten down all the bolts to hold down the rear diff cover, and this completes our install. These are all 14mm bolts. And this concludes our install. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.